I confided in my best friend about my crush and she betrayed my trust. My best friend Tammy always denied having a crush on our friend Matt, and she also knew that I had feelings for him. I had yearned after him for months. It became really hard to be around the friendship circle. I would have to listen to him talk about the cute girl he went on a date with, the girls in the gym, or his frustration at being unable to find a girlfriend. I was always surprised that he never went for Tammy, as she is his type, but I kept my mouth shut because I wasn't sure if he would ever feel the same way about me, and if he did and we dated, the breakup would wreck our friendship. I couldn't lose him, so I kept my mouth shut. Tammy and I spoke every day. We saw each other all the time and were inseparable. When I started to fancy Matt, I told her how hard I was finding it and what to do. She always asked me what made me think that he liked me, so I would say I just get a vibe from him. Last week he said I look good in blue. We have been friends for years. He had never complimented me like he does now. She would say things like maybe he has grown up. Never biased answers, but always a bit too vague and polite. This repetitive does he or doesn't he conversation went on for 6 months until I sat down on Tammy's bed and said that I was going to tell him that evening because it was becoming unbearable. Tammy nodded and said that she would support me. She told me how brave I was and how special I am. I asked her if she would wait in the car while I spoke to Matt, and she said she would, but that she had to head out around 6:45 p.m. to meet her cousin for dinner. That evening I went over to Matt's house. He was studying alone when I arrived and immediately invited me in. He said he couldn't speak long because he had a date planned that evening and she was arriving at 7 p.m. Swallowing my pride, I confessed how I felt. I waxed lyrical about the way he looked, how much our friendship meant to me, but also how I wanted more. His response was kind, albeit a bit uncomfortable, and I immediately shriveled up upon realizing the worst-case scenario materialized in the middle of his kitchen. He said he loved me, that I was his closest friend, but that he had never considered me romantically because I was like a sister. He hugged me and reassured me that we would still be friends, but told me how he was dating someone else. He was so nice about it, I couldn't be mad. So instead, I hugged him back and walked to the front door. As I swung it open, Tammy stared back at me, dressed to the nines with a full face of makeup. "Tammy?" I stuttered, and quickly spun around and shot Matt a look. Blood flooded my cheeks. I felt like such an idiot. Angrily I asked her, "So I guess that makes Matt your cousin?" When were you going to tell me?" "I have been discussing Matt for months." Tammy looked down and muttered, "I didn't know how to tell you. You were so hung up on him." Mortified, I laughed, and turned to Matt. "Well, aren't you a lucky boy? When were you going to be honest? God, you two deserve each other." I left them both standing like a pair of Greek statues as I stormed over to my car. It wasn't the rejection that hurt me, it was the dishonesty. Tammy had been my confidant, and the whole time she had been sleeping with the boy I wanted and didn't have the decency to tell me. Every time I spoke about what he said in class, she had been dating him. Every time I discussed what it must be like to kiss him, she sat silently, secretly indulging in her own experience. I feel so betrayed and led on. How am I meant to be friends with either of them now?